We're just okay, and we play some
Movies.
games. We're just okay.
Movie watchers.
Welcome, everyone, to another episode of Just Okay Movies. I'm your host, BIGGIESIZE, and I'm joined by...
Gweedo.
Gweedo, how you doing, buddy?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing all right. How has life been for you?
Life's been okay. Summer's winding down. My free time has been consumed with World of Warcraft. But hey, Just Okay Con is coming up in a week, pretty much.
It is so hard to believe that it's just getting down to less than a week until we'll all get together and fuck around for a weekend. And it's going to be the best.
It's going to be great. I need some time off too. So
absolutely.
I'm looking forward to it.
Dude, you stay slammed during the summer, man. It blows my mind. Like some of the stuff you're saying, like I think what blew my mind the most was that 4th of July like celebration thing. You have like over 100,000 people show up. Like that's
crazy.
That blows I just can't even imagine like seeing that many people, you know, in that area. That's insane.
It's huge, and there's people that they stay for the whole fireworks, as they should, but then the exodus of people trying to get out and get home is just, it's horrendous. It's horrible. It takes hours to get home.
Right. That's always the worst part. You're right.
Some of these people bring like tents and shit that they packed up, like large campsites. It's nuts.
Jeez.
People are stupid.
It's something like when you have a bunch of people in a group, like, I don't know if it's just you just see the stupidity even more like as a backdrop compared to other people who are kind of doing what they're supposed to do. But it just seems like ultimately when you get a shit ton of people together, the IQ just drops for everybody.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I don't know if it's that kind of herd mentality thing, but I agree. Like that's one thing I love going to concerts, and I haven't been to one in years, but I love going to them. But the part I hate the most is leaving, and I always want to leave early, like 30 minutes before I know that the thing's going to shut down, because after that, like if I just stay to the very end, I just hate my life trying to get out. You know, especially if it's like a big venue, like some of the larger ones in Atlanta and hell, even around here. I mean, some of the sporting events and everything. It's just, you hate those last little bit because everyone's going to be trying to like go their own way. Like it's better just everyone just like sticks to the path. Don't break off the path and we'll all get out of this. But you'll have people wanting to like drive over ditches and over like walls, like just do whatever they can if they think it's going to get them out just a little bit faster.
I've had some fun leaving concerts, and you know there's an opportunity to have a good time there when you're with a bunch of people who all just had a great time. Everybody's in a good state of mind. Everybody's pretty outgoing to each other because they just experienced something shared that was great on so many levels. So there's just a happiness in the air, and people are honking their horns and kind of shouting from car to car and getting out of the car if it's standstill traffic. I've had fun leaving events, but more often than not, it's just been a disaster.
Yeah, I can definitely see that. Well, I'll tell you one thing I did this week that was, I gotta say, it was kind of fun for a little bit of it, but a lot of the times I hated it. And it was a movie I saw called Valerian, the City of 1,000 Planets. I think that's what it's called. Oh. It's an old sci-fi film. I'm not old. I think it came out like last year or the year before that. And I've been like just really wanting to watch a good sci-fi film that's not Star Wars or any kind of like known IP, just something kind of fresh and interesting. And I've got to say that film had a lot of potential. I think it's based off of a comic book or something. I'm not totally sure.
Or like a young adult novel.
Right. And it kind of has that. Well, okay. Here's the problem with. Have you seen it, Gweedo?
No.
Okay. Here's the problem with it, and it doesn't make sense. Oh, well, first of all, it reminds me a little bit of Ender's Game. I never read the book, but saw the movie. It because you've got like these two. They're not kids. They're probably supposed to be like in their early 20s, but they look like kids, and they're way shorter than all the normal size adults, who you view as being adults in the film. So you obviously just kind of think, okay, they're kids. Maybe all of them are like kid soldiers. No, they're the only ones in this like massive human Federation army, and they're the only ones that are like 5'4" and probably like supposed to be 25, 26, but they look like they're like 14. So that's already kind of weird, and they can't act their way out of a paper bag. They're god awful. I think maybe worse than the Last Airbender acting, because I already thought I already hit a new low on that one. It's just being so dreadful, it's not even entertaining. Because you've got, I always bring up Battlefield Earth, where it's bad acting, but at least it's entertaining. These guys, it's bad acting, and it's not entertaining at all, and actually takes what could have been a really decent sci-fi film, nothing blow your mind, but decent, and takes it down a whole level to just being, you want them to die when they're on the screen because they are so much worse than everyone else. It's kind of one of those, like, especially the chick, because she's just kind of, they try to make her like this whole, badass chick, but it's almost like they just said, okay, you are never happy and you say quippy one-liners, and that's your character. So she's like, yes, sir. Like, shit like that through the whole movie.
Just a smart ass.
Yeah, but with no character, but you're forced in certain scenes to kind of be like, oh, but she's actually like really soft inside, or like she really loves him for some reason. And it just, shit like that just weighs that film down, because the alien designs, although they are CGI, it kind of stinks, but still, it's understandable now. But still, the designs of the aliens, especially at the very beginning of the film, is really, really good. I mean, they kind of play a cliche song. They play the Major Tom song. I can't remember.
I actually saw the beginning scene of it.
Did you like it? Like, the song's kind of on the head.
It was a cool premise.
It was. No, I agree. The song's maybe a little on the head, but the whole way it goes, like these, like, building the space station, then the first alien contact, and the human and the alien kind of shaking hands. It's like going through all the generations as the space station keeps building and building. That was great. Like, man, I may have really underestimated this film. But then we meet those two, and it just hurts. It hurts.
You know who
so
directed
bad.
this film?
I know the name, but I don't know what he directed before.
Luc Besson. He directed one of my favorite sci-fi films ever made, and that's The Fifth Element.
Oh, he directed Fifth Element, really?
Yeah, and you could see bits of that, especially in that first scene.
Right.
Right. He also directed, let's see, what else did he do? Oh boy, Lucy, which was pretty not great.
Lucy. Oh, is that the Scarlett Johansson?
Scarlett Johansson.
Yeah.
But also another good one to counteract that, The Professional.
Really? He did The Professional? Yeah. Oh my God. I didn't realize that.
So he's had one of those careers where it's like a good movie and then a stinker, and then a good movie and then a stinker, and then a lot of stinkers at the end of his career until he gets hit with allegations of sexual harassment.
Oh my God.
In the Me Too movement.
Oh, Jesus. Okay. I didn't know that either. Wow.
Yeah, you can chalk him up there with the Weinsteins and the Cosbys.
That's so shocking that because Professional is just, oh my God. I need to sit and watch that again. It's been way too long. That's just a crazy good movie. And even Fifth Element. I've never seen the Fifth Element all the way through. I need to really sit and watch
Fifth
it.
Element's so good.
Yeah.
He also directed Nikita, La Femme Nikita.
Oh, really? That's been on my list to watch for a long time. Is it really good?
It's okay. It's okay. It's an old film. It probably doesn't hold up much.
So not as good as Professional?
No, definitely not as good as Professional, in my opinion.
Okay. Who's the lead actress in that one?
I don't know.
It's not oh shoot. I forgot her name. Uh but well, anyways. That is fascinating.
Like Anne something? Anne, it's
And
some French chick.
yeah, I'm gonna have to look that up.
Isn't the
now.
movie all in French? It is.
I think
it's
it
a
is.
French movie.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it is. I don't even look up right now when it came out. Oh, I'm just seeing the TV show. Oh well. Yeah, Jackass.
I'm gonna
Boy
guess
Band.
early '90s, 1990, maybe '89.
Yeah, that looks right. That is very interesting, and that just shocks me that they had like this really good premise. All the pacing was, that's where I was shocked. I thought the pacing would just be god awful, but it was really well done. There's this one really cool scene at the very. It actually has a lot of cool scenes, but this one in particular is neat. They're doing like this job where they're having to intercept this exchange of stolen property, and they're like space cops basically. And but what's neat is they go to the planet, and it's just this massive field with a gate around it and like these turrets, so it's like well defended, but it's like an interdimensional supermarket. So like you go in to like this terminal, and depending on where you're wanting to go inside of this dimension, you have to like wear these headsets and gloves and go through this scanner. And inside this field of nothing, you just see like all these shops and restaurants and stuff. And like that's a kind of cool setting. And they like had this awesome chase scene where his like part of his body was inside of that world and part of it was not. So he was like trying to save his arm because his arm was in the virtual world and they were going to try to like cut it off. And that was kind of cool. I like that concept a lot. It's just I didn't give a fuck about him. That was the problem. Sure. It's having someone else. Like his voice was so strange. Like he looked like a little kid, like straight out of like high school who should be like going through puberty, but his voice sounded like a 40-year-old voice actor. Like it was like
were they like anti-heroes? Did
no,
they or were they like how did they get thrust into this situation?
It's kind of one of those like political kind of things. It's you once you see kind of what's going on, you know exactly what's happening. So I guess sort of slight spoilers. The organization that they work for, which is basically the human part of that space station. There's like 9 or 10 million people that live on it, and they have their own army that's stationed there. So they're like agents of this army. And it's like a bunch of
soldiers.
Like, yeah, they're basically soldiers. They go around and sort of police people in that area. So basically what happened was somehow they lost possession of this like really this thing called a recreator. I can't remember. It's like this little animal thing, and they're having to go get it back for their alliance. So they're technically the good guys, I guess, if you want to say the humans are the good guys, but like there's some bad apples inside that organization. That's kind of how the story's built on. So it's not a story you've never seen before. That's a little not great, but the style was actually really well done, and I wish they would have done more. Oh, and Rihanna's in it, and she's god awful. Sexy as fuck, but god awful. And they had this weird scene where he's like needing someone to like replicate another species so they can get into this place. So he goes into like this strip club thing, and he's like sitting here watching Rihanna do like a dance for him. You would think that. But I mean, she's hot. She looks good, but you're just kind of sitting there, and like from the scenes that been happening prior, it's like a dead stop in the story, and you're sitting here watching her do like Circus Soleil shit for probably about a solid 3-ish minutes, and it makes no sense at all. And then she basically does a voiceover for this alien for the rest of the movie, and it's really bad. It's like bad ADRing. Like if you're watching a show and they just like threw it together, like it just sounds out of place. Like they're in this garbage chute, and like their voices are echoing, but hers just comes in crystal clear. And it's like, ooh, gross. But
Well,
it's on Amazon. Watch it for free. I would recommend it just because it's
you could
free.
recommend it after all that.
I shit on it pretty hard, and I'm gonna tell you, I don't blame you if you stop because of those two actors, because they sink the film what could be a halfway decent movie. But if you're somewhat interested in some of those scenes I've mentioned, I would recommend it just for that.
Cool. Yeah, I was at one of the creator labs for Riot, where we make YouTube videos. It took place at the YouTube studio in LA, and we were in the middle of our 48-hour session of making these videos, and they closed off the main lobby, and we couldn't go in there because they had a special guest of Luc Besson and like two of the stars, which might have been the kids. I don't know.
Oh, could have been
in the lobby doing like a panel and talking about the movie and stuff, and then showing clips from it. And this was before it released. And what I saw from it from the sidelines, because I couldn't go in there, but I could still see it. It's giant bay windows and you can hear it. It looked interesting, but I could kind of see straight off the bat that it was going to be a big flop.
Yeah.
Just by looking at those short clips that I saw, I was like, this is not going to hit a large audience.
Right. I think it's the same thing that happened with that John Carter film. I haven't seen that one. I guess that's probably been one of the biggest flops from Disney, maybe since Solo, I would say. I mean, it was I think they lost $150 million. They had the write-off for that film. And it's just, it's something about the sci-fi stuff. I respect them for trying to do something a little different. As I said, the alien designs were great. The settings were really interesting. I don't think I've ever seen anything quite like that, especially like that one scene with the interdimension stuff in a sci-fi film before. It was great. It sucks that it came down to two poor actors that really would have, if casted better, could have been a solid film. Maybe still not have done well because sci-fi is just kind of a hard sell for some, and it just had to sink it. But another film I do want to see is John Carter. Have you seen it?
John Carter? No, yeah. I haven't.
I think that's the one where he goes to Mars, and there's like a big Mars society there, and he's just this regular human. It's a strange premise, and apparently the film did well review wise, but no one went and saw it. But so it could be maybe one of those good ones. It's
not the movie about the black swim coach with Terrence Howard.
What? No, but I know the movie you're talking about, but what's the name of that movie?
It's Coach Carter.
Coach Carter. No, I thought that was the Samuel L. Jackson one where he...
that is Samuel.
Yeah.
What's the swim team one?
I don't know.
I gotta figure it out.
Yeah, look it up. Coach Carter. That's hilarious. I didn't even think about that connection. That's funny. Oh, my God.
Well, it was the wrong connection. It's called Pride.
Pride. Oh, is it one of those sports movies that came out during the big sports movie craze?
In 2007?
That sounds about the right time, because you had all those Remember the Titans kind of blew the lid open. Then you had the Philadelphia one with Mark Wahlberg and
the Invincible.
Invincible, that's it. And then you have the hockey one.
Miracle, or the Alaska one.
You're right.
What's the Alaska one?
With Snow
Russell
Dogs.
Crowe? No, not Snow Dogs.
Yeah, I think it's Snow Dogs. What you're thinking of?
I love a good sports movie.
Really? I wouldn't have pegged you as a sports movie fan.
It's one of those things. I don't like watching sports, but I love watching dramatizations about sports.
Interesting.
And I love any kind of documentary that shows that sport as like a job to someone. You know what I mean?
No, elaborate.
I don't care about the points that they're scoring or how good they are, but when it takes it behind the scenes into the locker room and they're just, you kind of see these normal people and this is their job of going and having to perform athletically in front of these people. It just, something about it captures me.
Interesting. So I guess
There's a really good hockey one called I think it's called Enforcers. Just came out a year or so ago. And it's about the just the overall phenomenon of how there are enforcers in hockey games and how why they're there and why some people don't like that aspect of it and others are very pro having fights. That's what it's about. Why is there fighting in hockey when no other sport can get away with it? And it's just a fascinating look. It goes through a few like rivalries of fighters throughout the years of like why they would always fight during games and what caused that and how it ended. And then just also gave opinions of other organizations on why fighting was good or bad in their own opinion. It was it's really good, interesting to watch.
Was that a documentary?
Yeah, it was a documentary.
Okay.
And it's they get the point across very well to the point of like, why don't they just let other sports do this? You know, because the whole aspect of fighting in hockey is if you got a guy on the ice, a small guy that's, you know, scoring goals and shit, and someone runs up to him and pops him in the eye with an elbow on purpose, you'll get a penalty, but also you're going to get your fucking ass kicked by that, you know, 290 pound fucking bruiser that's only going to come on the ice to beat you up. So it adds this element to it of like, better play by the rules or you're going to get the shit kicked out of you. So when you see like soccer is a big one of like people just flopping all over and, you know, basketball, any other sport, just have the guys that come onto the court and beat the shit out of the people that are injuring their star players. I'm for it.
Yeah, that's very fascinating. Yeah. Oh, very neat. So did you like, I guess going back to more of a fictional realm, did you enjoy films like Friday Night Lights? That was a little more of a grittier look at like high school football, where it wasn't necessarily as much about the game, but more about the players and the effects of them. Okay.
Yeah, I like that. Miracle is a great one. Another Disney film. Right. About the Olympic team in, what was that, 1989 or 88 or something?
Something like that.
That beat Russia. This was before they had pros go in the Olympics. Yeah, it's just any kind of that where it's just these highly produced sports montages and then like the coaches yelling at people and giving them inspiration and, you know, people realizing their worth to the team. I love it. It's so good.
Now, one film I think of, and maybe it doesn't go into the sport a whole lot, I guess, as much as it could have, but one movie I really liked was The Wrestler. And did you enjoy? I shouldn't even have to ask that question. I'm sure you loved it because that almost hits every box for you. Makes total sense. I think the one thing I loved so much about that movie was whenever he would go into a room, the camera would sit behind him as if you're just walking in right behind him. It just gave like such a great like. It was, I guess, so unique, I guess, and how kind of gritty and interesting that film was. I think the scenes
go ahead. It did such a great job of showing the absolute highs of these indie wrestlers and then the absolute lows. And it contrasted so well within like minutes of each other, where he's just at the bottom, popping pain pills, having all sorts of financial troubles, you know, doesn't get along with his family, is estranged with his family. And then it goes from that to just this miserable human being to him in the ring, and he's a god to these people, you know.
Right.
Although it maybe only be like 15, 20 people in this gymnasium that's watching him, but you can just see it go from these highs to lows. And I thought the contrast of that was spectacular for an indie wrestling film. Oh man, that movie is so good.
It is so good, especially like I don't know jack shit. Really, that film kind of taught me at least a little bit about wrestling, like because I think at that point I didn't really know if it was really fake or not because I just never followed it, and it was kind of cool seeing them like talking in the back, like, okay, I'm gonna do this, and then this is gonna happen, and everything. I'm like, ooh, this is kind of cool, and like it's all kind of planned out, and
It is.
There's
some guys now that can just improvise, you know, on the fly, or you'll hear them. Even the professionals on WWE and stuff, you can hear the mics pick up some of their calls, like, you know, clothesline. They'll whisper in her ear when they're in like a rest hold or something.
Oh,
and then they'll fling each other, do a clothesline. But then there's the other aspect of it where it's the highly produced, scripted ones that they go through and just have, it's like a dance almost.
interesting.
Yeah,
Huh.
there's different aspects of it. Wrestling's so fascinating, man.
I need to get more into it. Like I guess what was it last year? Guido was like, "All right, Russell, you guys sit and watch this with us." So I hopped in and I had an absolute blast. Like I couldn't believe like the showmanship and everything of it. And I don't think I've laughed so hard because I was just so like fascinated in just how much they get into it and like the
It's
rivalries.
ridiculous.
It is. It's so like I was like I can see why people dig this. And I guess even like with that movie, The Wrestler, like I could see, you know, I mean, it's definitely gritty. It's definitely not really a heartfelt film in its own way. I think it is because you really do feel bad for him because he really wants to get back there and get back in that spotlight, and you really want it for him too. And it's just sad when he kind of gets his chance and he's basically, I forget what his move is called. Like you basically say one more time, you do it, and you're dead. And like spoilers for the next 30 seconds, he does it at the very end. The camera just goes to black, and that's just oh my god. That's just like right when you see him jump off the ropes and go down, it just your heart just sinks for him, and that's kind of amazing because, as you said, the film it's gritty, but it's a fairly simplistic story, but it's just told so well, and the cinematography does a lot for it. And I definitely, that's probably one of my favorite sports films from a sport that I know probably less about than any other sport. And I mean, that's just credit to the writer and director. But
Darren Aronofsky knows how to make a good movie.
He does. He certainly does. Well, have you watched anything lately, Guido?
My daughter asked to watch The Hunger Games.
Okay.
And I told her to get out of my house.
That's solid parenting.
No, I decided to watch. We watched it, and she wasn't a big fan at the end of it, all said and done.
Really?
Just kind of very indifferent to it, which I thought she's at a good age. She's 12. I thought she might be, you know, kind of into it with the slight love story. It's definitely geared towards teens, but just didn't hit her well. And watching it, I've seen it before and I didn't much care for it the first time. In fact, I think I watched the second one, but never got into watching the rest of it because I just I don't care.
Right.
But watching it again, it's no good.
Yeah. Agreed.
I understand I'm not the demographic for it, but it's like everybody just makes stupid decisions. There's lots of questions of like, why are they doing this? And the whole theme of the movie is like they send these children to this combat arena so that they won't revolt against the government. Like I'm not really sure of the motivation of of these games.
Right. Agreed.
And it's never explained either.
Right. I completely
It's
agree with
stupid.
you. It is. It really is. And I read the books and I enjoyed them quite a bit. Goodness gracious, I think I read all 3 of them within a week, and God, I'd never do that. And I was in college. I didn't have the time to do it, but I just got like so involved with it. The books are decent. They're not the best in the world, but they're decent reads. And then going to see a movie, I knew I would be disappointed, but and I was, because the movie doesn't world build and I'll sound like a broken record. It's like anyone else, it's not as good as the book. Yes, and that's just a whole topic in itself. I kind of talked about last week that the Hunger Games is probably the best example of a movie just going straight off the pages of the book without any real tinkering or changes to help make the movie flow better. It's pretty damn close, even to scenes where she's like laying up in the trees and all that shit. Like all that happens in the book. And it's fine that she's doing it in the movie, but you still don't have that connection like you do in the book, because they world build quite a bit more,
Right.
making you understand, the why they accept all this, why this is the norm. And they just don't do that in the movie. And it's disappointing because it just makes the movie feel like a big cash grab, which it is. I really do not feel like they really made this movie because we really want to make a good, powerful film based off this book. It's a cash grab. I hate to say it. I'm sorry if that makes anyone mad, but it is. And it's disappointing because the material deserved more than what it got. Was it an effective film for telling the story of the book? Yeah, it is. But it's shallow. It's extremely shallow compared to the source material. And that's disappointing. And
Sure.
And it just makes you wonder, like, why are the Harry Potter films so good at, and maybe some would even disagree. I didn't read any of the Harry Potter books. But other than the first 3 where they're little kids, I like the later ones where they're older, but I could kind of get into those films and get into that world where I just couldn't do it in that, Hunger Games film. And I don't know if it's just care. Parts of that film look so fucking cheap, and just sad. And I mean, they just pretty much just CGI'd everything, and that's fine. It can be okay, but it just felt so shallow. And so I completely agree with you. The film's garbage. The books are just.
That's why we gotta start a Kickstarter for making Kid Wars to get a nice, fun, young adult kind of battle royale scenario out there for the kids.
Dude, it's $1 million idea right now, man. Just throw battle royale in front of it. There you go. Wasn't there a movie called Battle Royale? I wonder
Same premises, similar premise as Hunger Games. Not the whole districts going to fight and people choosing and going in as tribute, but it was basically kids from a school kidnapped with explosion collars put on them and then stuck on an island, and they say only one of you leaves, and then that's it.
Wow, that's kind of badass.
Yeah, it is badass, but it's also I've only seen it once, and I saw it over probably 15 years ago, but I remember it being slow and a lot of talking. The kids are like, why did we get here? And can we take these off? And then one kid tries, and then his head explodes.
Oh.
And then everybody freaks out for 20 minutes about the kid's head exploding. And then, one of them's like, well, can we escape? I'm going to try swimming. And then he tries swimming and he dies. And then everybody freaks out again for a long period of time until eventually, in the last third of the movie, some of the kids are like, well, looks like we got to fucking kill each other. And then the action starts happening.
Oh, man. That sounds great. What year was that made?
I'm not sure, but it had to be early 2000s, if not late 90s.
Oh, that new.
And it's,
okay.
It's Japanese, and it's all subtitled.
Oh,
So
I
you gotta. That's just another layer of it that you gotta get through.
Oh, damn. I'm going to have to watch that now. That sounds great. Well, very nice. Well, we actually have a voicemail that we received.
Ooh.
I think I got it just the other day. We'll go ahead and play it. Here we go.
Oh, hello, Biggie. It's Mountain Sage here. This is gonna be, well, try not to make it too long of a voicemail. It's gonna be in regards to your questions that you asked about the worst live action animated movie, the best, and then one that we would like to see. So, to start off, probably the worst live action animated movie I've ever seen is I'm gonna agree with you and say Dragon Ball. And I haven't really watched too many live action ones because they're pretty much all terrible, so usually I just skip them. I will say there's a great scene in the Dragon Ball movie where they're fighting on top of that guy's car, and they're basically like swinging at the guy playing Goku and like just breaking the mirrors off his car and stuff like that. And then they stop fighting. He gets off the car. The camera pans over to the car, and all the windows blow out for no reason at all. That's probably the best scene in that movie. The best movie is, I've told you this before, enough that it feels like harassment every time I tell you to go watch it, but it's the story of Ricky O. It's a Chinese movie from the 90s, I think, where it's based on an old manga. And if you liked Battlefield Earth, I know for a fact that you're going to like this movie because it's so over the top, so ridiculous, and the effects that they do is just so stupid. The characters are great. I've seen it, I don't know how many times, a lot. Yeah, that's going to be that one. Story of Ricky. If you want, Biggie, I would very happily watch that movie again and do a pod with you if none of the other guys want to do it. And let's see. Anime or something that I'd like to see live action. Not really any of them, because one of the reasons that they always fail, I think, is they use really bad CGI with live actors, and it always looks really jarring for live action movies like that. One that probably wouldn't be too bad is an anime I watched recently called Konosuba. It could probably work all right as live action because it's all about character interactions instead of like extravagant fight scenes and set pieces. If you haven't watched that, you should definitely watch that, Konosuba. It's really funny. It's mostly comedy, and so maybe that one could work. I don't know. But anyway, that's it. Sorry for the long voicemail. Bye.
Oh, dude, don't be sorry at all, man. Mountain Sage, dude, thank you so much for calling in. And if you haven't know, Mountain Sage does a YouTube channel called Secondhand Gaming. Go check it out. They got some good stuff there. So thank you so much for calling in, man. I don't think we could ever harp enough about how terrible Dragon Ball Evolution is. Although I will say that scene there is really good. I agree. I forgot totally about that scene happening, which also is really dumb because in the show, and I won't harp on this for too long. I did like almost 40 minutes of it last week. They talk about airbending, that he's an airbender. And I guess also talking about the last airbender, he's also an airbender. But in Dragon Ball, it's not. I'm not sure why they changed that. They're like, oh, it'd be really stupid and cheesy if we just say he shoots energy. We're going to make him shoot air. Like, why? What the fuck? That's dumber. Like, maybe I'd rather shoot energy out of my body than just move air around. I don't know. It's just so stupid. I don't know why they would think out of all the things to change, that's the one thing they should do. Who knows what they were smoking. But I agree, that scene and the scene where Piccolo fights Gohan is actually really well done. That old guy is pretty awesome. in that scene, and I wish he was in more of the movie. But I totally agree with you there. Guido, I'm going to go ahead and assume you've never seen Dragon Ball Evolution.
No, I haven't seen any of the movies you
Okay,
mentioned.
yeah. Well, Dragon Ball, I wouldn't. No one really should see it. It's that bad. Now the other one you said you like the Ricky. Oh yeah, you have mentioned that, and you sent an email with that link in it, and I need to watch that. And you also recommended a bunch of other movies that I've definitely put on our list to see, because those are a bunch of really good ones. So thank you again. Definitely hearing something as bad as Battlefield Earth does pique my interest quite a bit, because that definitely sets a bar that I'm interested to see that could be either meeting or lower than. So definitely down with that. And I'll definitely check out that other anime that you mentioned. I'm not really an anime person. I've only seen a handful, and they're mostly just old ones that were on Cartoon Network that I thought were awesome, which being Dragon Ball and Gundam. And but I'll definitely check that one out. Guido, have you seen any live action ones that you hated, loved, and would like to see?
No.
That's fair. Hey, that's totally fair.
I mean, they're out there. The first Transformers, like you mentioned last week, was great. It was a spectacle. But it's really tough to try and think of any more. I didn't like G.I. Joe. I didn't like Scooby-Doo. I didn't like Garfield. Funny story about Garfield. The only reason that Bill Murray signed on to do that is because he thought the Coen brothers were making it.
Really?
Yeah, but the director's name is something like John Coen.
Oh no.
So he signed on for it thinking the Coen brothers were making a Garfield movie.
Oh my.
And then was kind of stuck into it. But didn't he make two of them? Aren't there two Garfield movies, or am I misremembering?
I thought he did a sequel. Maybe they didn't. Let me see.
I don't know.
All right, I gotta look that up. Garfield 2. Let's see what we got here.
Maybe he just needed some money.
They did make it, but I do not see Bill Murray attached to it. So I think it looks like it's mostly just CGI because he's in Europe. Yeah, he's not credited on it. Interesting.
But yeah, it's just generally cartoon movies I'll stay away from. There's nothing good is going to come from it.
Oh, no, I'm wrong. He did do the voice in the sequel. So yeah, he came back for it.
Oh, wow.
Joel Coen. Yeah, I probably would have made that accidental mistake as well, because that does look like one of the Coen brothers. So, no, it's Ethan, and I thought the other one was named Joel. Interesting. No, that's definitely a good one to pick. So any one particular you would like to see happen? You think what could work?
Oh, boy. No, I don't know, man. I don't watch cartoons much anymore.
Sure.
All the cartoons from my childhood have been made into movies, pretty much.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah.
Maybe if they could make like a really dark, good Gargoyles movie,
Ooh,
that'd be pretty dope. You ever watch Gargoyles?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, the show got pretty dark in some areas. Kind of on the same vein as the Batman animated series. You know, kind of had its dark moments, kind of hidden in, didn't really realize it till later. I could see them doing that. That could be pretty good. You could work with that material. I mean, hell, they made the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, watchable. So I think they could definitely do something with Gargoyles and make it interesting.
Sure.
Very good. Well, Mountain Sage, thank you so much. And hey, if you guys have any questions, comments, concerns, whatever, send me an email at justokmovies@gmail.com or shoot us a tweet at justokmovies. if you'd like to leave a voicemail, also go to justokmovies.com, go to the bottom of the page, and you'll find our voicemail number. And thank you guys so much for listening. We really appreciate it. And we'll come back at you with a review next week. All right, take care, guys.
Bye.